everybody, and welcome back to another episode filled with lore for your brain of the Sixth World. It's your usual host, So Easy Mode, the lore regurgitator for you to digest these wonderful tidbits of knowledge. I am joined by my intrepid co-host, Austin. Austin, how are you doing tonight?
I'm just the hungriest little baby bird waiting for that sweet regurgitation right into my mouth hole.
Well, don't worry, baby bird, I'll feed you.
I'm gonna slow down to make sure I don't choke with the plethora of information being bombarded upon me.
Bombarded is that's a great way to look at it. Well, I think we're gonna round out our Metroplex tour. There's only one place left that we haven't talked about, and we're gonna get to it this evening, and that is one Council Island.
Woo!
Yes, appropriate woos
How
put in place right
many
there.
how many tickets does it take to win a stuffed animal at Council Island?
Well, it's not exactly a fairground. The entire island, which sits in between downtown and Bellevue in lovely Lake Washington.
Oh, okay. I was expecting it like off the coastline somewhere, but like
No,
okay.
no, it's inside the Metroplex.
I
It's
I like a good inland island. All right. I'm
right,
intrigued.
but it doesn't technically belong to the Metroplex.
Huh.
Yes. So visitors to Council Island sometimes feel that they may have stepped backwards in time to a far simpler time when man lived in harmony with nature. The island's buildings are constructed from rough hewn logs. The government officials wear hand woven garments, and trees are everywhere. The feeling of escape is similar to a simpler time, usually lasts until you run into a bureaucrat carrying a portable computer or notice the solar collectors on the roofs of the log buildings. Or you hear the sounds of downtown, which only minutes away.
But the portable computer is made out of wood, so as to fit in with our old-timey aesthetics.
You know, it's probably got one of those faux wood cases over it.
Yeah, the little snap-on wood outline.
Even the vehicles, wood paneling on the side.
Hey, bring back wood paneling vehicles, man.
The station wagons, all wood
Uh,
paneling.
when I growing up, one of my favorite shows because I watched it as I was airing as an old person,
Mm-hmm.
as we are on this podcast. It's easy.
Like you do.
Like you do, was that 70s show. And because of
Ah.
that show, I wanted a station wagon so bad as like my first car.
Hmm.
Lo and behold, kind of hard to come across these days. And when
Yeah.
you do, they're usually in really bad condition.
Yeah, go figure, right?
Yeah,
Who
so
knew?
get rid of the mid-size sport, the mid-size SUV, bring back the station wagon. That's all I'm
The
saying.
family friendly car.
Please, that's all I want. I'm a simple man.
You know, they really should just bring back the Volvo station wagon because that thing was just a tank.
I mean, I feel like most station wagons were just tanks, man. Like you want to talk about vehicles that have incredible safety ratings? Give me a station wagon any day of the week, man.
Full steel bodies. None of this
Yeah.
aluminum stuff.
Yeah, man. Like if we were to go into the Mad Max future, the man with the
Hmm.
station wagon would be king because you can't stop him.
No, his car survives every atrocity, obviously. The only thing he has to worry about are flamethrowers.
Yeah, that's fine.
Ah, you know.
Who's burning precious gasoline fuel source in the Mad Max future to operate a flamethrower? Easy. Come on, let's be realistic here.
I mean, that's probably a good look.
I mean, aesthetically, it looks really cool, but
Hmm.
practically, if you're over here murdering people for gasoline, what are we doing?
You're definitely not just burning it willy-nilly style.
Yeah, unless we've got like the bro gang and their flamethrowers are all just cans of Axe body spray attached to like Zippo lighters with like a handheld like firing mechanism, then maybe. Then maybe. Faux hawks as far as the eye can see.
First they spritz you, then they burn you. For it is their way.
uh,
Join us on this Mad Max adventure where there are no flamethrowers.
but plenty of station wagons,
Plenty of station wagons.
if you know what's good for you.
Well, even before the awakening, the large island in the middle of Lake Washington was a beautiful place. It was called Mercer Island, and the city's wealthy like to build their palatial homes on the island's evergreen covered hills.
So Matt Mercer made enough off that Critical Role money. He just bought a whole island, huh? All right, good for him, man. Good for him.
When the Treaty of Denver cedes Mercer Island to the Salish Sheed Council for use as their embassy in Seattle, they renamed the island and embarked on a very ambitious project to transform the island.
When you started mentioning the nature-ish nature of the or aesthetic, I should say, of the island itself, I was like, so this is gonna be this is the Elf Island, right? In the middle of downtown Metroplex. I feel like that's what we're leading to, right? All right,
Well,
cool.
this is the Salish embassy within the Metroplex. That's basically what this whole island is.
Gotcha.
Yeah, most of the modern buildings and roads were torn down, with the Salish Sheed buildings erected in place of the luxurious homes. Where roads once divided the island, the council nurtured forests and woodlands. Where sparrows might once have been considered exotic wildlife, now raccoons, deer, hawks, smaller creatures, and paranatural animals roam freely on the island. It does take a small army of botanists, ornithologists, and veterinarians to tend the island's wildlife, and there is a never ending battle against air and water pollution. Good to note, there is little crime on Council Island, mainly because of the island's small population and the Salish bureaucracy thoroughness in screening visitors.
Well, and I would imagine that that thirdly would be that the entire rest of the Metroplex is surrounded by Nan territory. Like, you know, I feel like it'd be pretty easy for them to be like, I'm sorry, what happened on Council Island?
We'll be right there.
Oh my gosh. So, sorry. So what I was gonna say as well was the Salish being the ones on the island. I was off from it being Elf Island, but close.
Close. You were close. Yes. I'll give you points for being close. The council strictly regulates the number of Seattleites allowed on Council Island at any one time. Visitors who have not made an appointment are turned back at the Intercity 90 exit, or else put on the first ferry to Seattle. Those with reservations, but who are known members of polluting or racist organizations, are also barred admittance. Even those whose data files pass inspection must submit to a search for contraband and weapons before they can set foot on the island. Massive security roadblocks along the highway and docks are meant to stop criminals from entering disguised as tourists. Despite the risk, burglars find the homes of wealthy diplomats just too tempting to resist. To combat the problem, Chief Walter Malea and his Council Island police enforce heavy security. Even so, there was an incident in 2041 thanks to these daring go gangs. In 2041, the Leather Devils succeeded in breaching island security and went on a rampage that left more than 50 dead before a combination of island police, Lone Star Rapid Deployment, and Metroplex Guard were able to finally drive them off. And since then, the council has constructed pillboxes on either side of the Intercity 90 exit.
Oh, fair. I guess that's one way to better regulate traffic in and out of the island.
Meanwhile, there's also an armored Metroplex Guard unit that cruises that highway.
Mm.
Just for extra added security.
Yeah, just in case.
as if the pillboxes at the either end of the bridge to enter Council Island wouldn't be enough of a deterrent.
Yeah, right. And the fact that you have one in, one out, and
Right?
that's about the best you got going for you. So good luck.
Even despite that, with the pillboxes in place, Go gangs still attempt it occasionally and wreak havoc.
No risk, no reward, man. No risk.
Yeah, they don't really make it to the island anymore. It's more of a how brave are you to see how far you can get and turn back and still be alive to tell the tale about it.
Okay.
Council Island is approximately 25 square kilometers of land rising up from the depths of Lake Washington. The only way to reach the island by automobile is via the Intercity Bridge. The other way is by ferry from various points along the shore of Lake Washington. There are only 3,000 inhabitants on Council Island. Many of those are diplomats and their families from the Salish Sheed Council and other Native American nations. The rest are the rangers and scientists who care for the island's wildlife. The only non Native American residents are veterinarians from the University of Washington, translators, chauffeurs, and others whose services are vital to the council's functioning. So, people to run like the cafeteria and stuff like that.
Right.
For the political aspect, which is the most important aspect of this entire island, John Moses, the Salish Sheed Council ambassador to Seattle, is chief of Council Island. His second is Lady Laura Drywell of the Wantachi Elf tribe. Sidwell Tamanaus, a Salish shaman who was educated at the University of Washington, advises both on Seattle and its politics. Those who work on Council Island are divided into three groups. The first are the diplomats, who represent the Salish Sheed in negotiations with the city government and the megacorporations. Bureaucrats are the second large group on the Council Island. Their task is keeping up with the daily flood of red tape, as well as greeting and guiding visitors to the island. The rest of the island's inhabitants are foresters, biologists, and shamans. They care for and control the island's wildlife, conduct tours, and carry on research. They are also responsible for monitoring the pollutants in the air and water of Seattle to see that the city lives up to its environmental treaties with the council.
It's fair. I mean, again, Shadowrun has made me so gun shy at this point that I'm waiting for the dubiousness. Easy. I'm waiting I'm waiting for the other shooter. Because so far I'm like, this place sounds really nice. This just sounds really cool. I like everything about this place so far. So I'm waiting. I'm waiting to be distraught.
Well, we'll see what happens. Right now, there is rumors abound that Chief Moses has represented the Salish Sheed Council and the rest of the Native American nations in Seattle for years, and they believe that he should step down in favor of someone younger.
Mm,
Most of this sentiment comes from a growing militant faction in favor of the Salish Sheed becoming more forceful in its dealings with Seattle. They believe that Chief Moses's pragmatic approach to such issues as polluted council lands, illegal immigrants from the city, and intrusions by corporate militaries and Shadowrunners have weakened the council. They are particularly concerned with the rising tide of racism against elves and Native Americans in the city.
Okay, I mean, I can understand that, but also if your answer to that is, but what if we become more militaristic? I feel like that doesn't solve the problem.
That's true. There's also rumors that on Council Island, the Macaw and Crow diplomats are smuggling weapons onto the island to protect themselves from Go gangs.
Those dang go gangs, man. Well, first they got to make it across the bridge. I don't even know what they're concerned about.
Well, it may be under that may be what they're saying
Ah,
if they get caught
I
of why
see.
they're smuggling.
That's on paper.
Yes, one of the other reasons may be that some of the younger warriors intend to carry out operations against polluters or racist poly clubs.
I see. Street justice.
Yeah, and these influx of illegal weapons are a way to help arm them.
Right. Okay. I get you.
So there is a place to stay on Council Island. There is a hotel, even though there's only 3,000 people that live and work on the island. They have a hotel. Would you like to take a stab at the name? And no, it's not a Sheraton.
If it's not a Sheridan, does it even matter, man? I can't even use my points there, dude.
Can't even. It is the Council Island Inn.
I bet it doesn't even have a complimentary continental breakfast.
I don't know. It's considered a luxury hotel and it is 3 floors.
Oh, that is pretty nice, actually.
It's an attractive hotel set on the shore of Council Island. The inn is usually reserved for the ambassador's guests and other diplomats.
I mean, are we thinking 4-star here, or is this a 5-star establishment? What are you
This
thinking?
this could be closer to 5 because it is
If
there to
it's
house diplomats and ambassadors.
yeah, I mean, I'm thinking like 4.5. Four and
Maybe.
a half.
The hotel is a luxurious mix of glitter and natural materials. The rooms are adorned with Native American and metahuman art, most of which is priceless. Not surprisingly, hotel security is extremely tight.
Yeah, that's fair. I will say I do actually have kind of a weakness for that aesthetic. Last I want to say it was either last year or the year before. One of my brothers came to visit, and we went to a place up north here, and it's kind of a ritzier part of Arizona, called
Mm-hmm.
Sedona,
Okay.
and he had rented an Airbnb that we were all staying in. It was me, him, his wife, and his kid, my wife, and then my brother came up.
Mm-hmm.
My other brother also came up, so we were all staying together. And the place that he had gotten was built in such a way that through the middle of, so it had kind of like an open floor plan main area room. So it had like the living room, the dining room, and the kitchen were all kind of connected in like a L shape type of
Mm-hmm.
situation. But like directly in the middle of that was a tree that was just growing through the middle of the house.
That sounds like the aesthetic you would run into on the Council Island Inn. There would be those natural.
I gotta admit, it was really cool. I was like, I walked in and I saw it and I was like, damn, nature,
How
looking
about
good.
that?
Yeah, how about that?
I
Yeah.
see you there, nature. Look at you.
Gave it a pat. I was like, this is a good tree. What is this, birch?
Who's this bird? Oh, wow. However, with security at the hotel being extremely tight,
Hmm,
that doesn't mean thieves won't break in there.
those dastardly thieves.
There was a report that thieves did make it into the inn at some point and stole a jade Elvis sculpture and a painting by one Sam Comwaters.
I know you said a Jade Elvis sculpture, but for a second there, I thought you said a Jade Elvis sculpture, and I was like, those fiends!
How dare they steal the king?
That's a priceless antiquity of Americana!
They also absconded with a Salish ceremonial mask inlaid with gold and jewels.
See, okay, so my question about stuff like that is like, I mean, I'm assuming that the answer is just the black market, but like
Mm-hmm.
that's where you would have to sell that type of stuff, right?
Oh
Because
yeah,
that's way too high profile and unique of an item.
yeah. You can't just fence it to any old fence. You're having to go to like
Yeah,
a specific art fence or something like that.
I see.
In the shadows, yeah,
Yeah.
you'd have to go to a black market dealer that's looking to get these artifacts somewhere overseas.
You gotta go to the black market pawn stars. They know they trust me, they know a guy and they'll get him there in 10
They
minutes.
do know a guy. They believe that the thieves were able to succeed in this as a secret tunnel was discovered in the basement of the inn. So, secret tunnel, secret tunnel.
Was it hidden behind a poster that they had noticed was flapping, although there was no breeze in the
There's
room?
no breeze. Somebody just threw a rock through it and it makes the clack sound. uh Listeners, if you get that reference, 10 points to you. So because there's an inn, obviously there has to be somewhere for the people to eat that isn't just complimentary food from where you're staying.
Again, the assumed continental breakfast.
Yes, does not say that it comes included, but with it being a luxurious hotel,
4.5.
I would
4.5 minimum.
assume, yeah, I would assume there's breakfast. But if that's not what you're looking for, then you can go to Friendship Restaurant. That's right. That's the name. It's Friendship Restaurant,
Okay. All right.
a large restaurant and bar. This wonderful family style restaurant serves some of the finest natural foods on the Pacific coast. The credit goes, of course, to Chief Vivian Whirlwind, a wizard with trout, salmon, crab, and shellfish dishes.
Now, what do they mean when they say natural food? Oh,
I would
do they
assume stuff that is like
are they
locally
just
sourced.
well, also, could that just mean that it's food where the food is actually the food because it like, in the soy-based economy
Economy.
of the Shadowrun world, meat is king, you know what I'm saying? So
Yes, yes.
so I could also see that being the thing. It's not soyshi that she's that she or some
Oh
soy
God,
shimi that she's
soy
cutting up there for
shimi.
you.
Ugh. No, it's actual food,
Fresh catch of the day. Okay, that's fair. That's cool. Also, great name.
right?
Yeah.
Even better, and the most amazing part about the restaurant is that a huge meal costs you only 10 new yen.
Well, how much per night are you stay? Are we paying to stay at the
That's true. With how
at
much
the
you have
inn?
to
Is the
pay,
question? Yeah.
yeah, with how much you have to pay to get onto the island.
For how much you have to
Uh,
pay to get on the to stay on the island, and for what you have to go through to get on the island, a $10 meal is like bare minimum at that point. It is appreciated, but also, you know.
Word on the street is several major restaurant corporations have attempted to lure Vivian Whirlwind to their employ from as far away as Hong Kong. She really must be a wizard with seafood,
I mean, look, they're right there, man. That fresh caught catch of the day is literally catch of the day in that context.
right? The Salish has lodges that are located on the island. They have an aquaculture lodge. The Salish raises a variety of salmon and trout fingerlings that they imprint with the water from local creeks and streams. The fish are then released in hopes that they will return to spawn in the local streams in 3 or 4 years. The lodge is also responsible for monitoring the lake's health. If they catch you dumping into the lake, oh boy.
Yeah, pollution seems like the main thing that you would want to make sure that you avoid doing at all costs and anywhere that's associated with the Salish.
Right? I wonder just how much of Lake Washington that they're allowed to kind of like police, I guess.
Uh-huh.
And is it just around Council Island or is it basically the whole lake? Because
I mean,
it's a pretty big lake.
I would assume that they probably would be doing the whole lake.
I would assume so too.
My other concept of that being they have to make sure that they can keep an eye on uh like smuggling or any like
Yeah, but it
people trying
doesn't,
to get to the island by boat to circumvent nature or
right?
or not nature security or things like that. So I would have to imagine that the entire lake itself would probably also be being monitored and policed by the council.
Maybe, or it might just be a joint ownership kind of deal. I mean, the island itself is completely Nan territory. It's considered
Yeah,
Salish Sea territory, but it doesn't say that all of Lake Washington is also considered Nan territory.
that's fair. Yeah, it could just be literally the land, and like you said, it could be a joint venture between the Metroplex and Council Island for the actual lake itself.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's not
Huh.
very clear on that regard.
Okay.
That's kind of up in the air and left to open to interpretation. I would think that it would be a joint venture type deal.
Yeah.
One of the other lodges that you'll find located on Council Island is Eagle Lodge. The council raises rare eagles, hawks, and falcons here in a huge netted aviary for eventual release into the wild. Outside the aviary are several nesting pairs of bald and golden eagles that have adopted Eagles Lodge roof for nesting. Look at that, bringing back wildlife.
Does it have roof access? No, that's where the birds live now.
No, that's for the birds.
They have retaken the altitude.
There's no flying above the island.
Why do you think the inn is only 3 floors? That was the treaty that was worked out between us and the
Betwixt us.
avian overlords.
Betwixt us and the birds.
And them.
Them. We don't talk about them. You have the Grand Council Lodge. This lodge is where the ambassador and his staff work. It's a very large building. No one without a pass can get by the guards at the front entrance. No one.
Hey, they're good at their job.
Hey Chummer, just a quick aside, if you are enjoying the episode, be sure to rate it if on audio, or if you are on YouTube, give us a like and subscribe as we are trying to reach our 1,000 subs goal. You can also support us over on Patreon at patreon.com/critical_hits. Finally, if you are interested in taking your tabletop gaming to the next level, check out the episode description for an affiliate link to DriveThruRPG. So the next time you're looking to expand your library and want to help support us, drop that link in. And now, back to the show.
There is a note here from somebody that works in the Grand Lodge as somebody that goes around just cleaning up, right? Janitorial services. They said in the 8 years that they've worked on Council Island, they heard many rumors about secret passages in the Grand Council Lodge. They never believed any of it until one day they were cleaning just beyond the Grand Council room. Hearing a sound, they looked up to see Chief Moses enter the chamber from behind a hidden door that was behind his desk.
Interesting.
Secret passage directly to the chief's office. I wonder if that's so he can get in and out, if it goes directly to his home on the island.
Could be.
Be
Or
a nice escape route.
perhaps it leads to his meeting place with the aviary overlords. Moses is simply a puppet. He is the puppet leader, still installed by the birds.
It's why the rest of the young warriors want him gone so they can lead glorious revolution.
On feathers of combat shall we retake what is ours. Oh my god. I mean, your answer is probably the actual answer, but it could be the birds.
It could be the bird. It's like the great peacock incident of 87.
You mustn't speak of it, the files were locked.
Oh boy. It's probably just a secret passageway to get in and out quickly. Sadly, there is no bird conspiracy. They do also have a medicine lodge.
Oh.
At the center of Council Island is a wondrous clearing dedicated to a large number of totems. This is one of the most frequented areas on Council Island, visited by both the faithful and the curious. All that is asked in return for use of the medicine lodges is a small donation.
But what happens at said lodge?
Well, it's mostly like an outdoor area. I think they practice natural medicine there. So you've got your sweat lodges that are, set up in this area, or medicinal healing ointments and herbs can be purchased, and natural healing from magic can also be found here.
Gotcha.
for a small donation.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's for the good, right?
It is all for the greater good. Finally, the last lodge that you will find located on Council Island is Museum Lodge.
Oh.
It is a small but thorough museum, chronicles the histories of the Pacific Northwest Native American tribes. Well, I guess I lied. There's technically one more lodge. They don't consider it a lodge, though.
Uh-huh.
It's the Passport and Immigration. This large
Uh,
lodge with its maze of rooms is where the council conducts most of its business with Seattle. It is here that one can obtain passes to Council Island and immigration visas to the rest of the Nan territories.
Intake Lodge?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, I was trying to think of I was like, I mean, we could call it, Ellis Lodge, or that might be too on the nose though.
a little bit, maybe.
The Intake Lodge sounds a little bit more professional on paper.
Yeah. Immigration Lodge, I guess. I don't know how that sounds. Does it sound
Yeah, see
about
that
right?
I mean, again, it accurately describes what it does. But it's
True.
not an inviting title.
What would be a far more inviting title other than passport or immigration?
I mean, I'm still sticking with Intake Lodge. I think Intake Lodge is all right. Intake Lodge
That's
is
not
kind of
bad.
neutral. It's,
Yeah.
So I think that one would be okay. The Gateway Lodge is
Oh,
kind of
see,
cool.
that
That's
sounds
kind of cool.
good. Gateway
Okay.
Lodge. I'm
The
with
Gateway
that.
Lodge. All right,
Yeah.
cool. Yeah. We'll go with that one then. There you
That
go.
that sounds good. I like
Free
that one.
marketing.
This is what we do here.
This is what we make dreams a reality over here. I don't know, this is what we do.
Bring in exactly what you requested. And of course, there are 2 medical clinics that are located on the island in case you don't want the natural healing that you can get from the medicine lodge.
Well, for a minimum donation.
Oh, yes, of course.
Yes, of course. Great.
You've got Council Island Hospital.
Mm-hmm.
Is a small but excellently run hospital that does not charge for treatment given to patients who take ill while visiting the island.
Council Island Hospital is my favorite soap opera from the 70s.
It sounds like a soap opera hospital, doesn't it? Next on Council Island Hospital.
On next week's Council Island Hospital.
Bum bum bum.
Yeah, that's I mean, hey, good on them for providing free healthcare as long as the bad thing happened to you while you were there.
Yes. Or if you live and work there, then obviously they'll take care of you.
That's fair. Yeah. That's true.
There are many features that set this hospital apart from the rest of the care centers in Seattle. In keeping with Elven and Native American styles, most rooms are circular, paneled with dark wood, and scented with continuously burning incense.
I mean, I'm not hearing any downsides here to this room. This sounds like a pretty good place to get some treatment.
Medical treatment here is both holistic and more current, I guess.
Modernized.
Modernized, yeah, that's the better word. It's aimed at healing both the patient's physical and mental state.
It's fair. I mean, they'll put the cast on your arm and then give it a nice wave over with some sage to make sure that the evil spirits didn't get into the broken bones. It's a good time.
Yeah. Don't want to get possessed by those evil spirits.
So not in the arm.
Especially Native American evil spirits. I don't know if you've ever jumped into some of their mythology.
It's awesome.
Oh boy.
It's so cool. I'm a big fan of Native American mythology. It's real dope.
Oh man. You anger
Yeah.
some of the stuff in there and it just never leaves you alone.
Yeah.
Council Island Hospital also does considerable research into the pollution-related diseases and injuries. So much so, and their expertise is so well regarded, that they have specific hazmat teams set to work alongside those of Seattle. So any kind of hazardous incident that takes place within the Metroplex that would warrant the use of hazmat gear, Council Island Hospital will be contacted by the Seattle Metroplex requesting aid from their hazmat teams.
Their guys get to walk onto the scene in slow motion, putting on sunglasses while 70s classic rock plays in the background to them. Is what you're telling me.
Yes, that's what I'm telling you.
Sick. All right.
They're so well regarded that corporations are always trying to entice the hospital's doctors away from the island and into the private sector. It says entice, and by corporation standards that can also include kidnapping.
Yes, right, of course. Well, forceful removal. Easy, please. Come on. Kidnapping, that makes it sound bad.
Unwarranted relocation.
Yes, unwilling relocation. Warranted, that's a matter of perspective.
That's true.
Definitely unwilling relocation.
The only other place on the island to get medical care is from the South Island Clinic. And it is just a 1-floor clinic. So, your typical walk-in is what you're dealing with.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
I'm assuming that their guys don't get called in.
No.
With the slow motion and the sunglasses.
No, they don't get the cool slow motion and sunglasses. It's just a simple clinic.
I see.
Nothing spectacular about it. Yeah. I mean, especially when you have to contend with Council Island Hospital.
Again, really good. It's a really good name.
Next time on Council Island. That's the other thing too you have to take into account of how many spirits are also going to be patrolling the borders of Council Island and protecting it as well.
Very true. Yeah, from like a spiritual and just magic based perspective, that island's got to be like impregnable, right?
Magically, yeah, I would imagine they're very protected. It did say that they have free roaming paracritters on the island. Who's to say they haven't trained some of them?
Very fair.
Like what were they? The blood kites? The giant owl creature.
Yeah.
The electric owl. Yeah. Come on. Of course, there's also hellhounds, They're pretty good. They're pretty great for security purposes.
Right.
And then you got the pillboxes on either way in. Well, I'm sorry, the only way in, unless you want to ride a ferry, which doesn't seem like the best way to try to sneak in.
Via the ferry?
Yeah.
I mean, if you go via ferry, do you still have to stop at Gateway Lodge?
Well, yeah, the security's gonna check you as soon as the ferry docks.
That's just as bad.
After you get off, you still have to go through like an immigration because
it's technically sovereignty, sovereign land from
technically
the rest of the Metroplex.
Nan sovereign land.
Right.
I guess you could parachute in.
But
it's heavily wooded now, so and then you have to worry about the aviary overlords,
dude, you're not getting through that. The aviary overlords won't hear about it. They will have no such thing.
They will not take this affront to their skies.
Exactly.
Yeah, so Council Island, very little talked about. I mean, there's only 3,000 people that live there. It's a very small population, but still a decent piece of land, like right in the middle there.
I mean, the other way that you could try to go about it would be underwater approach. If you had like a wetsuit, you could try to just go through.
Yeah, I guess
Washington, and
I guess that's true. Unless
get to it that way.
Unless the fish are gonna rat you out.
Well, I mean, you're entering the domain of Leviathan at that point. So,
but it is a lake. Do lakes count as Leviathan domain?
Every body of water is Leviathan domain easy. We've talked about this.
So when I'm taking a bath in my
Yep.
bathtub,
Yep, you say your prayer to Leviathan before you get in your bathtub. This is the Jaws is gonna come out of your toilet water situation all over again, man.
everybody has to be afraid of toilet shark. Wow. Well, I know is definitely pretty short, but that's all I've got for Council Island, and that rounds out our whole Metroplex tour. We've talked about every single district, everything that they have to offer, what they bring, how they are connected to the rest of the Metroplex, and what their political landscape and outlook looks like, as well as what their underworld crime belly also brings to the table.
Right. Yeah, I mean it's a very kind of on the surface location
Hmm.
where it is exactly what it appears to be, and there's not a whole lot of depth to it. It seems like that's been outed outside of that. So
Right.
in that situation, it's kind of an open environment in terms of what you could do with it. But I was thinking that something fun from a gameplay standpoint might be like an Ocean's 11 style heist
Hmm.
for a team to have to like infiltrate into the island, and then once they're there, like break into a politician's house and try to like, get information off their computer or something like that.
Right. That
Uh
is definitely something that could be done.
but outside of that, yeah, it's kind of also like a location that doesn't really have of enough of a variety to really offer any other type of, you know, mission implementations. At
Uh-huh.
least it feels like to me. Like it's not a big enough location that you could really do any other types of missions other than that there. There's not enough else going on to kind of warrant that type of setting for a campaign. At least not that am thinking of. Did anything else come to mind for you, like gameplay wise, as to how you could implement it?
I mean, if you want to go the political route, obviously
Hmm.
there's the tension between the UCOS and the Nan territories,
Right.
or the corporation kind of poking its nose around
Yeah.
where it's not wanted. So there's always that.
There is also the hinted at inner turmoil of the Nan versus Nan conflict as well for Moses and his position.
That is true.
So you could also go that route, but
That, yeah, you could go that route. There is another thing that can possibly come into play, and that's from a threats perspective in the threats book.
uh
There's a threat, and we can dive into this later, but I'll mention it now because it fits with kind of what we're talking about. There's a threat, and it's an organization called the False Face.
interesting. Okay.
Yes.
The false face.
Hmm.
What's kind of a elevator pitch situation for these guys?
So just a quick synopsis.
Yeah.
They're a group of natives,
Uh-huh.
right? And they generally come from all different tribes, that work against the mega corporations.
Mhm.
They believe that evil spirits brought disease and illness to the members of society, and only those with a strong enough spirit can drive them away.
So they're like naturalist anti-capitalists.
Kind of. They
Okay.
definitely target mega corporations a lot. They see modernized medicine as like not the true way.
Uh-huh.
I guess would be the best way to put it.
I see.
And we'll get into it even more and
Okay.
break it down a little bit deeper when we actually talk about the false face and
For
what
sure.
they look like, because there was a before, and then once the awakening, they take on some other aspects as well.
Mhm.
They are definitely very interesting. And
Okay.
and they're also a different kind of threat that you can throw into your game that might not be expected.
For sure.
They are definitely very interesting. I will say that. You wouldn't think they'd be as much of a threat as they are, but once we talk about them, I think it'll make sense as to why.
But we'll have to get to that in a future episode,
That will be a future
yes.
episode. This has been the tour of the Metroplex, and this has been us finally rounding out our tour. We've visited every spot. From visiting every spot, do you have a favorite?
Oof.
I'm putting you on the spot right now.
Oof. That is an excellent question. I don't know. Like I know it's kind of a cop out answer, but I do enjoy just kind of the downtown and Barrens areas that we've gotten to encounter
Hmm.
uh with Sinless and all of that fun stuff. So I definitely have a biasy there.
Hmm.
But outside of that, I really enjoyed talking about Sahomnish way more than I thought I would. I also kind of liked what we had established with Puyallup and the lava fields and all that fun stuff
Hmm.
as like a potential just hideout area that you could use. So I
Hmm.
thought that that one was also pretty cool. And then, I mean, Bellevue's cool if you're into that kind of thing.
That's true. Uh, for myself, I'd have to say I think Fort Lewis is interesting.
Uh-huh.
It's just a super small district. I mean, you got the military base there and some
Yeah.
of the other stuff that's going on. Plus, you have the paranormals, the para animal zoo.
Yeah, that's true.
That is pretty cool. Uh,
Yeah.
and I also have to say that other than just the typical like downtown or barrens,
Uh-huh.
I am also a little bit of a fan of the Sahomnish area
Right? Dude, I'm telling you,
for
man. We killed it on Sahomnish,
we
man.
really did. It was probably the most fun or the most interesting district that we've got to talk about. I think in my humble opinion, because you've got your cattle ranchers and your farmers, and it's
Yeah.
just that absolute stark contrast
Yeah.
of living in a rural kind of area when so much like hyper cityism. I don't even
Right.
know if that's really the right term, but you have all of that super heavy infrastructure just right there crammed into downtown with
Yeah.
skyscrapers and everything like that, and it's all sandwiched on top of each other.
It's hyper industrialization versus what would be considered modern naturalism almost.
Yeah.
Like the downtown area is so far into the removal of nature and the celebration of business
And neon
uh
lights.
and new and like
Yeah.
all of the just constant upward building, whereas Sahomnish and Shadowrun sounds like it's probably pretty similar to like the actual area, that
Yeah,
like the
current like
like
present day.
it doesn't sound like a lot of shit. Granted, we can't talk on the grounds of the racism in the Sahomnish area in terms of how it is in regards to the modern
Well,
Sahomnish area, but
that's against meta humanity, so that comes from the
true,
awakening and everything.
true.
So
Uh,
we can't speak to that, but
but also just like, we had the whole thing with the Briar Hotel and
mhm,
just the Body Lass, which I still think is my favorite nightclub name that we've come across.
that's true. That was a good one.
So yeah, I think that it's in that contrast that Sahomnish is kind of captivating because you're like,
Mhm.
it is so different from
Yeah.
what you would expect out of a cyberpunk setting and
You know,
aesthetic, that it's
I
very enjoyable.
I've never made a character that has been from that specific district, but now I'm tempted to. And he does all or most of his work in downtown, and he's just constantly in awe at the things that he comes across, because he's like this country boy, right? That's
So-
been out there and then
so-
comes into the downtown area and it's just, oh.
Sahomnish sounds like the perfect starting location for our middle-aged Midwestern monster hunter that we created.
Mm-hmm.
He should absolutely be from the Sahomnish district. He just, he has to migrate to downtown for work.
Exactly. Well, everybody, you'll have to let us know from all of the different districts that we have talked about, what have been your favorites? What are some of the highlights that we may have gone over that have really kind of stuck with you? Where would you make a character from that you wouldn't typically, after hearing everything that we've had to say about all the different districts? These are all the great questions that you can ask yourself.
And then answer to us, either on the Discord or Patreon. Let us know.
Please, yes, let us know. Always interested in hearing what our listeners would create or come up with. It's super great and super interesting and fun, and we hope you guys enjoy some of our random runners that we create as we do these lore drops for you, and hopefully we will continue to do so with some of these off the wall crazy runner ideas. It just depends on whatever
Woo!
strikes us at the time.
Yeah.
Well, any final thoughts for Council Island?
No, it's just it seems cool. It makes sense to be a location to exist. I think the fact that it does exist as an island is an interesting setting in and of itself. And then being able to just have, again, that contrast of the hyper industrialization versus naturalization type of thing is also
Yeah.
just really cool. So
I also feel like
Yeah,
it gives
cool
you a
place.
good look into what other the rest of the Nan territory would be like, since we've never
Right.
really talked about the Salish exactly. It's always
Right.
just been, oh, it's just this Nan territory that surrounds the Seattle Metroplex.
Well, also, like, there's a lot of it. Easy. There's a lot of it in Shadowrun.
There is a lot of it.
Like
There's a lot of Nan
80% of North
territory.
America is Nan territory at this point, man. Like,
That's true.
they cover a lot of ground.
Again, it's something that we will probably touch on in a future episode where we talk about Nan territories.
Yes.
So we will get into those as well, so you guys will be even better equipped to understand the Nan territories if you wanted to run something in those areas. Dig up as much information as I can find, and we'll put that together for you. But that is something for the future. You guys, I hope you have had fun hanging out with us here this evening and have taken some wonderful lore that I have regurgitated up for you.
Is my belly full?
Well, what would our avian overlords say?
They would be pleased. We have adopted their means of consumption. The first step in the process has been
And how we share it with our young. All right, you guys. I hope once again you've had a good time. We've had a great time hanging out with you. But as always, we will catch you on the next one.
The Topps Company Inc. has sole ownership of the names, logo, artwork, marks, photographs, sound, audio, video, and/or any proprietary materials used in connection with the game Shadowrun. The Topps Company Inc. is granted permission to Critical Hits to use such names, logos, artwork, photographs, sound, audio, video, and/or any proprietary materials for promotional and informational purposes on its website, but does not endorse and is not affiliated with Critical Hits in any official capacity whatsoever.